Hi everybody! I indicated that I would do a tutorial on how to make the foam core boxes, so I'm here to do that. I've pre-cut some foam core, but what you'll need is foam core, and actually at Michael's this week the large sheets of it are on sale for $3, so you can get several little boxes out of one sheet. I had some scraps, so I just went ahead and cut some pieces down. You're going to need a blade, a pen or pencil, a straight edge, and if you're doing something large, you will want to have a T-square. It will make the job a whole lot easier, and I'm doing this from a completely different angle. So, trying to do the best thing as far as putting it all together. You will need some regular sewing straight pins, and you don't have to have, but I do recommend having some of the paper packing tape. If you're doing a box with a hinged lid, you definitely have to have this. If you are covering your box with paper or fabric, then I definitely recommend using this also. And you'll need some kind of glue. If you're just doing a small box, you can use hot glue. I don't like it because it makes it harder to put the straight pins through. But if you just want to do something quick, then you can do it. I use the straight pins for additional strength. That's what I use on my storage boxes, and they do hold a lot of weight. They've held up really, really well. I haven't had any of them, collapse or break down on me. So that's how I do it. So that's how I'm going to show you how to do it. So I have 5 pieces of foam core here, and they're all the same size. I like to do it this way because I can fine-tune it. If I try to measure exactly with the sides and everything, because 2 sides will have to be a little bit shorter than other sides. If I try to do it exactly, I'm going to drive myself nuts, and I just don't like to go there. So I have 5 pieces that are all pretty much the same size, and I have just another scrap that I know is going to be large enough to do a hinged lid with. Excuse me, I'm still trying to get over that cold. So to start, I lay out one piece and line up flush against it a second piece for one of the sides. And I'm just going to flip it over because I'm going to do glue down one of the edges. Making a little mess here, but that's alright. Okay, I'm just going to lay this down. I do have some working time with this glue, which is good, even though it's quick drying. I want to make sure that they are flush before I start sticking straight pins in. And I'm just going to stick them in so that they definitely go into the sidewall piece. And I've got some glue squirting out, but that's alright. Clean that up in a second. And if you're using the paper packing tape, if you end up being able to see your like the shape of your straight pen, it's not a big deal because that's going to get covered up. So I am, again, making sure that it's staying flush. That poked through a little bit. So I'll just pop it out and start again. And I'm just going to do 5 down this side. Wipe off any glue. So this is what you have. You got straight pins. You can see the heads there. And you can see what I'm talking about here, where you can see the pen a little bit. It didn't actually break through the paper, so I'm not worried about that. Okay, so now I'm going to do the opposite side. The same thing. Putting some glue along the edge. It's easier after you get one side on because it'll sit sturdier. You actually have a base to work on. And same thing, I am, whoops! It does slip away from me every now and then. But holding it flush and putting in straight pins. Oh, I have 2 pins here. I mean, it really is very, very easy. It just takes a little bit of time. But it's so nice to be able to have exactly the size box that you want. Unless you go to a Container Store or something like that, it's going to be really, really hard to find a lot of times exactly what you want. You can decorate these however you want, coordinate them to your room. Okay, so this is what we have now. A bottom and 2 sides. Okay, so now I'm going to take another piece, and I know it's too large. You can see that it's extending over the edge there. But I'm not going to worry about that for the moment. That's going to be really, really easy to fix. And actually I see I've gone just a little bit off center here. So I do want it to be as flush as possible. It's not, actually it's not off enough. If I'm going to tape it, then it's not that big a deal. I'm just going to keep running with it. I have one edge sticking over a little bit. So again, you're going to glue along the edge. I'm going to go ahead and put the glue on all 3 edges. And I'm going to make sure that they're flush at one corner and 2 edges, because I know this piece is longer than I need it to be. So as long as I have two of these sides, these edges, and the corner flush, then it's going to be all good. Start putting my pins in. And you're going to see what I mean about not being worried about the size, that starting out with your pieces all pretty much the same size. If you want it square, or this isn't going to be quite square, but you can, I mean, you can make the sides as long as you want. You can make the boxes as deep as you want. I am going to go ahead and pin all 3 sides since I have glued all 3 sides already. I'm hoping my head hasn't been in the way while I'm doing this. I'm trying to watch what I'm doing as opposed to watching the camera. And fortunately, straight pins aren't very expensive. You will end up using a number of them. Okay, so before I start to pin this other edge, as you can see the overhang there, I am going to take my blade, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this so that you can see it. I'm going to try, but it's the wrong angle for me. And when you're cutting with your blade, you don't want to try to go all the way through it the first time. You're going to want to do a couple of passes, and you do want to make sure that you have a sharp blade in there. And I'm not getting a straight cut here, but this is a start. But do a couple passes and it'll break away when it's done. So now I'm going to do it from the angle where I can, my normal working angle. Actually, that did do pretty well. Okay. I'm going to be covering that, so I'm not worried that it's a clean edge. And you can keep these little scraps because you can use them as you know, instead of pop dots or something if you want to get some dimension on one of your projects. Now I'm just pinning this final edge. Now I'm just putting 5 straight pins. Depending on what you're going to use the box for, if it's just going to be lightweight stuff, you know, then a pin every couple inches will be good. I'm sure I'm doing overkill here, but okay, so this is what you have now. 3-sided box with a bottom. So now I have my last piece, and I'm going to do the same thing. Again, it's going to overhang. So I'll just go ahead and put my glue down. And you don't need a whole lot of glue, just something to adhere it, just to give it a little extra strength for when it's finished, because the pins are going to do a lot of that for you. Okay, so again, I'm making sure that it's flush at the corner, the side and the bottom, as flush as they can be. This one isn't a perfect cut. But you know what? I think I'm going to use the other edge because I think it's a little bit straighter. Just a little more glue. Do it this way. Yeah, that edge is better. Okay, flush on the corner, 2 sides, pin it down some more. And actually, even if it's not perfectly flush, it's not a huge deal if you're going to use the paper tape. I might have already said that, but I'm trying to hold it down kind of firmly so that the glue will stick. If you had hot glue on here, I mean, imagine how much fun that's going to be trying to put these straight pins in through that glue. Okay, so there we go. We've got the edge hanging over again. So I'm going to trim that. Again, I'm not trying to go through the first time, on the first pass, pretty much scoring through the top layer of paper. And sometimes it's going to take multiple passes, and I think my blade might be getting a little bit dull because I got a rough edge there. Okay, so that's your basic box. Any size, however you want to do it. That fast, that easy. Let me just throw some pins in here real quick. And if you decide you want to cover your box with paper or fabric, I do recommend giving the outside of the box a coat of gesso, because that'll actually give your glue some tooth to grab onto. Because the surface on these, it's not a slick surface, but it is very smooth. It's almost like a satin finish. Okay, so there it is. And then on the packing tape, I mean, it tapes tears very easily coming off the roll. So you just go through. And then if you are going to cover the box, then you will want to go through this part of the process. Okay, but I'm not going to go through all the motions, but that lets you see. And you can put that on all the edges. Okay, and then if you want to do a hinged lid for it, again, you will need this paper packing tape if you want to do a hinged lid. So I have a scrap piece here that I know will work for what I'm doing. So I'm actually lining up the box so that one edge is flush with the edge of my scrap piece of foam core. I'm not worried about centering at this point because I can go back and clean it up and, if the edges end up being a little uneven. So what I'm going to do is trace around the three sides of my box. And get my straight edge. And I am just going to score into the foam core. I'm going to do the front edge first. I don't want to cut all the way through because I want a lip on the front and the two sides. So you don't want to score too light, but you don't want to score too hard either. You definitely do not want to go all the way through when you're doing this part. Just turn it and do my sides. And actually what I should have said and didn't, I didn't do it on the first line, but just to be on the safe side, to make sure that it fits properly and has a little bit of play, I'm going to score it about 1/8 of an inch outside of the line that I drew. I'm going to try to do it on this front edge too and hope it's not too late, but it might be. Okay. So now I have 3 scores. So I'm just going to fold it down and fold it down, and where they join, I am going to break that through, get the excess corners off. Okay, and fold it down. So you can see, obviously, the front lip is larger than the 2 sides. The sides are probably a little bit off, but we'll deal with that in a minute. So you really can't pin these, and it would be hard to glue. So the tape will definitely come in handy for this. Just make sure it's going to fit before I do anything. Yeah, it's going to fit. Yay! And there is a little bit of play on each side. So that's good too. I mean, if you want the sides to sit down perfectly flush with the box, then do it exactly along your line. But it might end up being a little tight. Just to let you know. So I'm going to take a little bit of the tape again. And just put it, just joining the side to the front. Do the same thing on the other side. Folding them together and joining the side to the front. Okay, and here you're going to set the lid on top of your box and make sure that the back of the lid is flush with the back of the box. You do not want to use glue, you do not want to use pins for a hinged lid, because then it won't hinge. Use your tape. And there you go. And if you're going to cover it with paper or fabric, it's going to make it that much stronger of a hinge. And that'll work out for you. Just trim up this tape a little bit. Okay, and then, okay, you can see you have a front lip that doesn't match the sides. Probably should have done this before I attached that on. Let me just pop this off. So you just go with your straight edge and cut that down. And this angle is horrible for me. And this is a little bit tricky. This is probably the hardest part of the whole thing, if your lip is larger than your sides. You can leave it like that if you want to. Okay, I'm going to draw a line and see if I can freehand. Might be a little bit easier. course, I'm trying to rush through this too. So it's not perfectly straight, but you can make up for that when you cover it with paper. Okay. Just join these together, make sure they're flush. And there you have it. Well, my front is very sloppy, but take your time with it and you'll get a good clean cut. And I think I need to replace my blade too. And there you have it. Your hinged lid foam core box. And I don't necessarily put lids on these. If you didn't want a hinged lid, but wanted a square lid with 4 sides, you just do the same thing that you would have done for the front. Just score it down, have some excess, and then just fold it down. So there you have it. Again, if you want to paint it or put fabric on it, I do recommend gesso over top of it to get that tooth for the glue later on. So there it is. Hope you all get some use out of it. If you make some and you decorate them, I'd love to see them. And that's it for now. Hope you all have a great evening. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.